Over 300 students have passed away. 9 people are still missing at sea. This has become one of the most tragic accidents in South Korea. At 6:30 p.m. on April 16, 2014, the Sewol ferry left Incheon port for Jeju. Under harsh weather conditions, the pitch-black sky, accompanied by a thick layer of fog, obstructed the crew's vision, making it difficult for them to navigate the ship. On board the ferry were mainly 325 students from Danwon High School on a field trip. The Sewol ferry made its first 90-degree turn at 8:48, then slowed down and moved for 4 minutes. The ferry made a second turn at 8:52 and travelled an additional 1.6 kilometers before stopping and capsizing at 10:08. The critical point was at 8:52, when the ferry made its second turn. Despite sending out an emergency signal, the rescue operation could not reach in time to save everyone. As a result, 304 people lost their lives in this incident. Most of the victims were young students and their teachers, who were excitedly preparing for a fun trip but ended up in sorrow. The communications between the Sewol ferry and the VTS on Jindo Island, abbreviated as VTS Jindo, showed that many passengers had no chance to escape from the sinking ship because it tilted too quickly and due to the captain's misjudgment. At 9:07, VTS Jindo contacted Sewol for the first time, asking if the ferry was sinking. VTS Jindo knew about this because the SOS signal had been sent to VTS Jeju. VTS Jindo suggested nearby ships to quickly reach the scene, helping passengers escape from the Sewol ferry. At 9:12, VTS Jindo asked whether passengers could get on the lifeboats. In response, Sewol stated that the ferry was tilting too much so passengers could not move at all. At 9:14, a fishing boat arrived at the scene and reported to VTS Jindo that some passengers using lifeboats had escaped from the sinking ship, but Sewol stated that passengers could not leave the ship. At 9:17, Sewol said it was tilting 50 degrees. Water was flooding in, and passengers could not move. Sewol did not report that passengers kept their positions. Throughout the half-hour communication, the crew only began to evacuate passengers 40 minutes after the distress signal. Passengers received orders to keep their positions in the cabin as the ferry began to tilt and sink. Meanwhile, Captain Lee Jun-seok and the crew were the first to leave the ferry and climb onto the rescue boats as the ferry was gradually sinking. Before the Sewol ferry sank and took the lives of the passengers on board, many messages were sent out to families and loved ones. Maritime experts later analyzed that, under such weather conditions, it is possible that the ferry hit a large rock. This strong collision could have created a hole, causing seawater to flood into the ferry, causing it to sink quickly. The lucky surviving passengers recounted that before the ferry began to tilt, they heard a loud noise. Investigators later did not rule out the possibility that this noise could be due to the Sewol ferry colliding with a rock. The Sewol ferry, with an initial capacity of only 116 passengers, was retrofitted to carry up to 840 to 956 people, far exceeding the safety limit. Its maximum weight also increased from 6,586 tons to 6,825 tons, causing it to bear weight beyond its capacity. At the time the ferry sank, it was carrying 180 vehicles and 1,157 tons of cargo. In addition, the ferry was fitted with 3 large cabins with a total weight of over 50 tons. The surviving passengers and crew reported seeing about 100 containers stacked on the ferry, and they were secured with ropes, not chains. Passengers were once warned by the crew that, when the ferry capsized, they could be crushed by the containers if not careful. When the ferry was abruptly redirected, the overloaded cargo on the ferry shifted, causing the ferry to tilt to one side and eventually sink into the sea. The Sewol ferry was equipped with 46 lifeboats, each capable of accommodating 25 people. Lifeboats could be activated by water pressure or by pulling a safety pin. However, only a few of the 46 lifeboats could operate. The crew said they could not use the lifeboats when the ferry capsized. In South Korea, passengers on ships are usually instructed to use life jackets, emergency exits, lifeboats, and flares. The captain is responsible for ensuring passenger safety. However, on the Sewol ferry, the captain and some crew members fled first. The Korean Coast Guard was criticized for its delay in rescuing the Sewol ferry. The 100-ton rescue boat number 123 from the Mokpo Coast Guard office was the first to arrive at the scene. The Korean prosecutor argued that Commander Kim was responsible for the failed rescue operation of the Sewol ferry, which led to an increase in the death toll. Mr. Kim was also charged with lying about the evacuation order. In November 2014, the captain of the Sewol ferry was sentenced to 36 years in prison for negligence and irresponsibility leading to death. 3 other sailors were sentenced to 15 to 30 years in prison. To this day, the bodies of 5 people have not been found. After 4 years of relentless searching with no results, the families of the last 5 missing victims in the ferry sinking have agreed to stop the search operation. Thank you for watching. If you have any information about this incident, please comment below.